What is going on? In this video, I'm going to be telling you about the very first time I smoked DMT, NN DMT. I talk a lot on this channel about 5-MeO DMT, that's what I like to use now, but this is going back 13, maybe 12 years. 12 years ago. I first heard about it probably from Terrence McKenna. I was listening to a lot of Terrence McKenna back in the day. From the time I decided that I was going to do this, I was going to smoke DMT, it was probably a month from actually doing it. I had to go out and get all the supplies, I had to order some stuff, I had to do the extraction, which doesn't take that long, but I remember the day that it all dried out. It was all ready to go. Just like, okay, I'm just going to do it, just do it right now. Yeah, I just sandwiched it in between some weed, and I got my big bong there. My wife was sitting to the left of me, and I remember okay, I need to take 3 hits. So I take my first hit, so everything's waving and pulsating, and from there I go to take my second hit, and I know I'm supposed to take 3 hits, so I take the second hit as big as I can. And the bong was it's probably a 2-foot bong. So I probably got a lot of smoke. I'm assuming I did, because I don't even remember taking the third hit. I don't even think I did. I just remember taking a big hit in, and then there's this winding up, and then as I exhaled the smoke, I could make a cloud of smoke out in front of me, and then I was just shot at lightning speed through the smoke, and the smoke parted ways, and there was a tunnel. There was a tunnel with lights, almost like a hyperloop tunnel or a hyperspeed tunnel. I don't know if I fell back and I closed my eyes, but I do remember that after the hyperspeed tunnel, I was sitting up. And I wasn't in my living room. I was, but I couldn't tell I was in my living room. And I opened my eyes, and we have this television. We had a television on the wall mount, on the wall. And it was a 50-inch TV or whatever. And it was on, which I don't recommend, because just less sensory input, better for this stuff. Just focus on the medicine. But I had the TV on, and it was hyper realistic, futuristic, just as high def as you could ever imagine, and way further beyond that. And I could see the TV, and then there was these little iPad-sized screens all over the wall. There must have been 15 of them, and then the wall, there was a corner, and then beside me there was a wall, and there was just all the TVs were all up there, or all these little iPads, and they all were playing news of some sort. On the big screen there was a news anchor, kinda, but it wasn't really. But I could tell it was information. News is just sharing of information. At least that's what it should be. But there's these TVs, and there's these random patterns, hieroglyphs, and there's just these different patterns that were flashing on all these different TVs, and I couldn't understand it. I'm trying to understand it, and then all of a sudden, instead of it being on the screen, it started coming out of the screen, and it was floating in the air. And there was these words that I couldn't understand. It was just information just going every which way, coming out of the TV. They're crisscrossing every which way, and I was in shock. It was just so incredible. It was impossible. It was so awesome. So all the TVs are playing information, and it was like I was at the center. Hopefully that's not too windy. It was like I was at the center of information. It was at the center of creation. The center of creation. It wasn't a non-dual experience. I can tell I've had enough of those to know. I was still witnessing something external to myself, whereas if it was non-dual, I would have I would have realized that I already am the experience happening. but it didn't play out that way. So it was pretty damn close, I would say. Like the edge of creation, I could see creation happening in front of me, and on the other side of that is the creator. And I didn't quite make it far enough to realize that I was creating the experience. But as I was biking here, come to my spot to film my videos, I was biking here, I was thinking about it, and I never thought about it that way, that I could see myself as, like, this is 12 years ago, I've finally had enough time to integrate the experience, that I could see myself as the creator on the other side. And I created the experience for myself. That's all that's ever happening. And then from there I went like toward the wall. I mean, I was sitting down, but I went toward the wall in my mind, and I turned right. And I went into this room. It was like this big dome room. And I just got the feeling that everything is going to be okay. Everything is okay. There's no need to worry. Just... And that was the purpose of that room. It was to like ground me in peace, in a sense. Just, it's all good. It's all good. After the room, I had the room where everything was peace, everything was great, everything was perfect. Don't worry. That was it. Don't worry. And I stepped back through the door that I came in. But I didn't go back into the same room that I was. There was this statue sitting in front of me. It was like a hyper-dimensional statue that, like, you know the game Snake, where it just like goes in squares and you gotta eat the dot, and then you gotta try not to hit yourself, you gotta try not to bite your own tail or whatever. It was like that, where it was like a ribbon, and it was like hyper moving. It was just moving in. Yeah, it was moving into itself and around itself, and the ribbon would go wherever it was, and then I would like zoom in on the ribbon and I would like go down the ride. Yeah, so every time I do DMT, which isn't very often, I see this statue. I call it a statue, but it was like a hyper ribbon following itself, creating a statue. Probably seen it 3 or 4 times. And on ayahuasca down in Peru, I was going down this like river on my ayahuasca trip, and on the embankment there was just like statue, and we're going down, there's just statue, and they're all frozen in time. And usually when I do DMT, they're just like hyper, like just. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I've come to think that those statues are just an egoic pattern. It's just how it's presented, how I've interpreted it. So after the statue, after I saw the statue, this is the first time ever doing DMT, and yeah, I've seen that statue every time. Anyway, after that, everything was like flushed down the toilet. The whole scenario, the whole experience was being flushed down the toilet. And as I'm realizing that, oh, I'm in my living room, I just did DMT. Okay. The layer upon layer is building again. Only it's like God, it's hyper dimensional. Every layer is beyond anything you could ever imagine. Like, way far beyond. Like, you take like the wildest Alex Gray paintings, you put them all together, and that's one layer. That's like a piece of one layer, and every layer, and it's just layer after layer after layer after layer, and it creates this. And it creates reality. It creates reality that, you know, we're all a part of. Yeah. So as I'm sitting there, and I look over at my wife, and she's, you know, reading a book or whatever. She's like, "How was it?" And she was like I would consider this fairly sober at this point, but she looked like she was 10 feet tall, and she was like one of those Avatar characters, like those like really tall indigenous blue Avatar creatures from the movie. And it was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, ever. Still, to this day, all the things I've seen on all my psychedelic journeys, that it was just like in awe. I was looking over at her, up at her, and I was like trying to like, what is is that you? And then slowly it's just like fading. It's like liquid gold being poured through your hands, and you're trying to grab it, like trying to just get a piece of it. It's just so incredible, and it's just pouring through, and there's nothing to grab on. You cannot hold on to it. It's just the best thing you can do is just to experience it and just to be present with it. So if you're trying to hold on to it and remember it so you can share it with, it's just not gonna happen. Like even me telling you this story, it just does not do any justice whatsoever. And within a matter of minutes from there, it was like back to ground zero. Like just, that was incredible. That was incredible. And I can remember it way more now. Like I can remember, I mean, maybe not the fine details because it's so just ridiculous, but like the gist of the experience I can remember now. Whereas at the time it was like, what happened? What was that? What? I can't even remember it. It doesn't make sense. Now that I've had time to integrate, it's yeah, it's DMT. So that was my first DMT experience. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.